Hello, and happy Thanksgiving, and here's to a happy Christmas, we hope, subject to what obviously happens with the pandemic. Well, what a change it's been. And what a change for a year after having to go through the issue of managing President Trump, having to go through the issue of the pandemic, having to go through the issue of various geopolitical problems not exactly helping, and of course, what happened to the economy. So therefore, now look forward to 2021. You have a new president, whether you voted for him or not, but it'll be a change. And I have to say, overall, that will be a positive change in terms of confidence. That's not a political statement. Then in terms of actually the pandemic, it's still horrific. The numbers are just dreadful. Obviously, for not only those who died and their families, but also the ongoing pain that it causes. But the good news is we have some vaccines. And the good news is they look as though they're going to work for most of us. That's encouraging. Then also in terms of the geopolitical issues, we've already seen some comments from President Xi holding his hand out to President Biden. Mind you, that's hardly a surprise. Biden, of course, should make sure he deals with the Chinese effectively, which means not shouting at them. You have to deal with them properly, but time for America to start taking part in the Trans-Pacific Partnership again, or rather for the first time, having pulled out of it before it started. And also various other issues internationally, including the environmental agreement, the Paris Accord. And then with that, of course, we can see that the economy, the global economy, is growing in 21. So from 4 bits of bad news, you've now got 4 bits of good news. And that's encouraging for markets overall. Markets have done very well. So what should we be doing? Well, unfortunately, the markets have already taken into account a lot of this good news. So I, for one, for the moment, will be just holding some cash. Keep some cash because there's going to be a little bit more volatility to come. And so we're using that to, again, take some advantage of that on the basis that there will be some quite interesting dips, I think. In terms of bigger themes for this coming year, commodities have been very badly hit. And that's hardly surprising. But commodities will be picking up as the global economy picks up and you can see more demand coming through. And I find that encouraging. The one exception to that is probably likely to be gold. Because obviously gold reacted positively when the rest of the world went negative. So you're not going to see too much strength there. But other commodity demand is liable to pick up as well. And with that, I suspect also the oil price. So be prepared for some new year volatility because actually an awful lot of that good news has been taken into account. One bit of good news that will come through at some stage is when your Congress will finally agree a package of some kind. When that does come through, there is a certain level of relief. And with that relief, you'll see a bit of a bounce related to the market on that. So I find that actually really rather encouraging. So often the new year can be a bit of a hangover, literally in some cases, certainly sometimes in my family. But actually, you use that opportunity, therefore, to use those markets when they're just actually finding their way through the first part of the year. January isn't always necessarily the best time, but you'll use that volatility. So 2 things there. 1, ordinary equity markets, buy on a dip when you see that coming down. And also then those commodity prices, which you'll start seeing as the global economy starts to pick up and you start seeing greater figures coming through. We're going to see quite a few of those this week. Then I think you'll find some more encouragement. So what was positive initially, as we saw in December, will not necessarily come through in the way that we originally thought. But it's going to be a lot more positive than last year. If you're a longer term investor, then stay with it anyway. There's no need to actually trade and sell out of this. But I think this is actually going to provide itself more positive, a more positive situation. The other area that we should be looking at, but not for now, but maybe for another time, is let's look at those emerging economies, particularly in Southeast Asia. There's value there, and they'll really benefit from this global recovery. Anyway, here's to a good Christmas, and hopefully for a cracking good new year, and hopefully for some good investment markets. Goodbye.